My name is Claire Brennan. I'm 38, a hospital billing manager who's learned to balance two ledgers at once. The one with codes and columns that keeps the lights on, and the invisible one that tracks favors, silences, and the price of belonging. I'm also Daniel's mother. He's 6. He reads chapter books for fun. And when rooms get too loud, he presses his shoulder into my side as if the world can't tip if we stand flush together. Every Sunday at 5:30 p.m., we drive to my sister Lauren's. Same driveway, same smell of charcoal and lemon cleaner, same choreography that pretends to be love. Mom, Patricia, no longer has her own house. She lives in the in-law apartment attached to Lauren's place. A gentle way to say she's close enough to supervise, far enough to claim she isn't. Greg, my brother-in-law, is usually at the grill in a t-shirt that says something about hustle. The 3 kids, Connor, 12, and the 9-year-old twins, run rough patterns through the yard like they're practicing dominance as a team sport. Traffic? Lauren calls from the patio as if punctuality measures devotion. I say the city was busy. She reminds me it's Sunday, and there's never traffic on Sundays. Daniel squeezes my hand, and I feel the tiny bones that 6 years ago made me brave enough to leave a marriage that wanted me invisible. Go play, buddy, I tell him, and he nods, earnest, careful, the kind of child adults say they want, until his softness makes their edges look cruel. He drifts toward the grass where the cousins are kicking a ball, always a step outside the circle. Mom is in her chair with a glass of wine, the queen of an empire of folding tables. How's work? She asks without looking away from Lauren's plating. Busy, I say. Good, she answers, the word a period with a smile under it. Still at the hospital? Still managing the billing department. That's nice, she adds, and then a beat. Stable. Stable, the word people use when they want to say unremarkable, but also remind you they think stability is boring. I've come to believe certain families build their moral systems around performance. Who dazzles, who hosts, who stacks chairs without being asked, who pays quietly. We carry platters to the outdoor table, grilled chicken. Greg brings out with a who's hungry, like a sports announcer, deli sides, store-bought rolls that look like they belong in a magazine where every caption includes the word effortless. The twins race each other for seats. Connor shoulders past Daniel to anchor the spot closest to the adults, the little prince of proximity. Daniel, sit here, I say, pulling the chair next to me. Connor snorts. Why does he get to sit by the adults? He asks, eyes bright in that way kids' eyes get when they know they have a backing chorus. Because I'm his mother, and I said so. Connor tips his chin toward the far end. He belongs at the kids' table. Lauren hums a soft reprimand. Connor, don't be rude. With a smile that edits the sentence back into suggestion. It's a peculiar kind of discipline that keeps all the power and none of the correction. We eat in a harmony built on interruption. The twins talk over each other about an art project that became a glitter catastrophe. Connor complains about a math teacher who hates him for no reason, which is 12-year-old for, I was told no. Greg discusses a promotion like it's already destiny. Mom praises Lauren's hosting, as if Lauren didn't buy half this food, pre-made from a deli I recognize, by the label on the coleslaw. Daniel eats in neat, small motions, cutting his chicken into uniform squares. a private geometry lesson. How's school, Daniel? Mom remembers him the way you remember an item on a list. Good, he says. I like reading. Reading's important, she replies, and turns her face back toward the promotion. I watch the moment he goes from subject to decor. Children learn their position from the speed at which adults pivot away. There's a brand of quiet that looks like peace from far away, but up close is inventory. I'm counting what the room awards and what it denies. It's not the first Sunday like this. It's just the one where something tips. The ball skids along the fence, and Connor, never missing a chance to conscript, yells, "Get that!" Daniel jogs, picks it up, returns it with a throw that would make his PE teacher nod. "You're supposed to kick it, dummy," Connor says, and the twins laugh in harmony. Daniel colors red and walks back toward the house, not crying, just closing. Lauren watches through the glass. "Sensitive," she pronounces, as if she's diagnosing a flaw. "Kids need thicker skin." "He's 6, I say." "Connor was tougher at 6, she answers, nostalgia, rebranded as superiority. When Connor comes inside for water, he pauses in the doorway, the way boys who practice cruelty learn to pose. He studies Daniel pressed to my side. "Why is he always so weird?" he asks the air. "Connor," I say, soft and sharp. "What? He doesn't play right." "He doesn't talk." "He's shy," I answer, which is true, and also not the point. "He's weird," he repeats, satisfied that the thesis holds unless someone bigger tells him it doesn't. No one does. Lauren doesn't correct him. Mom doesn't lift her head. There's a science to this. Researchers say children remember social injuries at 5 times the rate of compliments, and the injuries scar in the shape of the adult faces that did nothing. "Maybe he could be more social," Mom offers finally, like giving advice to a woman about a houseplant. "It might help him make friends." "He has friends," I say, and I hear the thinness in my voice. "Does he?" she asks, and invokes Lauren. Connor's never seen him with anyone at school events. "Different grades, different classes," I say. "But still," she continues, "a child should be more outgoing. Maybe some activities, sports, something to toughen him up." Daniel presses closer. His cheek finds my upper arm, like we've practiced this, because we have. "He's fine as he is." "You're too soft on him," Mom says. "Boys need structure, discipline." My generation knew how to raise strong boys. "Your generation also thought hitting built character," I answer, and feel the patio temperature drop a degree. I stand. "Daniel, go get your jacket." Lauren glances at the sky, bright as a postcard. "It's not even 7, she says, and I nod. "We have things to do on a Sunday night." It's a sentence that could mean bath time, or it could mean dignity. Daniel runs down the hall, light on his feet because leaving is a relief you can feel. I lift my purse, the old leather catching just enough sun to make a small stubborn shine. "You're being sensitive," Mom warns, the family's emergency brake. No one meant anything by it. There's a way to use no one that means everyone. "Connor called him weird twice," I say. "You called him soft. Lauren called him sensitive." I'd say the room meant exactly what it said. "Boys tease," Mom replies. "It's normal." "Connor is your grandson," I say, "and so is Daniel. You managed to defend one. That's also a lesson." Connor reappears, water bottle in hand, a smirk like a stage cue. "Yo, Grandma, is Aunt Claire leaving because of me?" He asks with a sweetness that should come with a warning label. "No, sweetie," Mom says. "Your aunt is just—" But he's already looking at me. He raises his hand, points with a lazy precision, and mouths 2 words. I don't hear them, but I don't need to. The twins giggle behind him, the echo that makes it real. Lauren's mouth opens and then thinks better of it. Mom looks surprised, the way a statue looks surprised, carved into place. Greg stays in the living room with sports. Evidence that you can be absent while present if it protects your peace. No one says the obvious, that a 12-year-old just graded an adult woman's human value with a gesture. No one says that's not acceptable, which is the sentence that separates families from crowds. In another version of this life, this scene ends differently. In this one, it's a hinge. I nod once, a movement so small it feels like a private vow. "You're right," I say to no one and everyone. "We should go." Daniel appears in the hallway with his jacket, already zipped because he understands exit as language. We walk out into the late light and the yard smells like charcoal and something else you only notice when you decide not to swallow it anymore. Here is the documentary part, the quiet numbers you can't see from the patio. Every month for 7 years, $200 leaves my account and lands in Mom's. It started when she retired early for health and promised it was temporary. Add the extra bills, the co-signed car, the furniture, the hearing aids, the little emergencies that arrive with the authority of weather, and the total hits a number that could have been a down payment on a new life. This is what families don't put on the table at dinner, the costs that buy the right to be unloved politely. I drive home, knuckles loose on the wheel, because I have decided, maybe an hour too late and 7 years on time, that stability is too small a word for what my son deserves. Inside the house, I will read him 2 stories and fold his jacket onto the chair and make tea I might not drink. But for now, in the last stretch of daylight, I watch the cul-de-sac roll past and feel something rearrange inside me as quietly as furniture sliding across a carpet. If you ask me what this story is, I'll tell you it's about a sentence mouthed across a room and the silence that made it scripture. It's about a ritual that called itself family and a ledger that called itself love. It's about a 6-year-old who knows where to stand when the world gets noisy, and a mother who finally understood that boundaries are not walls, they're doors you learn to close. Next Sunday is coming, but not that Sunday, not like that. There's a choreography to cruelty when it believes it's protected. The ball thumps against the fence. Connor barks, "Get that!" And Daniel obeys because some children are raised on kindness and some are raised on hierarchy, and the latter learn to test for silence the way a diver tests the water before jumping. He throws the ball back clean and true. "You're supposed to kick it, dummy," Connor says, and the twins, his chorus, giggle on cue. Through the glass, Lauren watches with the face of someone grading posture in a recital. "Sensitive," she says, wrapping a label around my son as neatly as foil on leftovers. "Kids need thicker skin." "He's 6, I say, but the number doesn't persuade anyone who's already decided the moral of the story. Inside, the house smells like lemon cleaner and a life staged for guests. Daniel presses in at my side, small shoulder finding its home under my arm. Connor slips in for water, catching sight of us. There's that Beat Boys take when they discover power in an audience, Why is he always so weird? He asks the room, a question shaped like a verdict. Connor, I say, warning built into the single word. He shrugs. He doesn't play right. He doesn't talk. He just stands there. He's shy, I say. He's weird, he repeats, and because no one with authority contradicts him, the room records it as fact. In studies, they call this the bystander effect. In families, they call it tradition. Mom finally speaks, a soft correction that redirects blame back to us. Maybe he could be more social, she suggests. It might help him make friends. He has friends, I say, and the truth of it fails the test of their preferences. Does he? She continues. Connor's never seen him with anyone at school events. Different grades, I say. Different classes. Still, she says, a child should be more outgoing. Sports, something to toughen him up. There are decades folded into that sentence, the old catechism of toughness that mistakes loudness for courage. Daniel curls closer until I can feel his breath through my shirt. He's fine as he is. You're too soft on him, Mom says. Boys need structure, discipline. My generation knew how to raise strong boys. Your generation also believed hitting built character, I say, and the air tenses like a string on a violin pulled 2 notches too far. Daniel, get your jacket, I say, and the click of our decision is louder than forks on plates. Lauren blinks. It's not even 7. We have things to do on a Sunday night, which is true, baths and bedtime, and the kind of quiet that doesn't grade you, but it also means we have to walk away before the room writes a permanent line on my son's heart. Daniel's footsteps patter down the hallway. I reach for my purse. You're being sensitive, Mom says, and there it is, the family's fire extinguisher word. No one meant anything by it. But no one is exactly who meant it. Connor called him weird twice, I say. You called him soft. Lauren called him sensitive. That's a chorus. Boys tease, Mom replies. It's normal. Connor is your grandson, I say, and so is Daniel. You only defended one. I'm not angry in the yelling way. I'm angry in the ledger way, counting what everyone paid in and what they withdrew. Connor drifts back into the doorway, water bottle in hand, and the twins are shadows behind him. Grandma, is Aunt Claire leaving because of me? He asks, sweet as a sales pitch. No, sweetie, Mom begins, eager to plant the narrative. Your aunt is just... But he is already looking straight at me. He raises his hand, points at my chest, and slowly mouths the words so I can't mistake them. Trash belongs outside. The twins titter. Lauren's mouth opens and closes, the fish of a failed intervention. Mom looks surprised the way marble looks surprised, expression carved after the fact. Greg is still anchored to the living room, the television a permission slip. The remarkable thing is not the boy, it is the room. The remarkable thing is the way the adults choose to let it land. I nod once, a signature on a boundary. You're right, I say evenly. We should go. There is a physics to leaving. Daniel appears in his jacket, already zipped, hair slightly mussed from the hallway mirror, where he checked himself the way kids do when they want to be invisible but neat. He takes my hand and we walk out, past the grill and the rented compliments, and the chair where my mother learned to love one daughter out loud and the other in receipts. In the car, the quiet is careful. We snap our seatbelts, the engine hums. I pull away from the curb, and for a moment all the houses look the same. Driveways, porch lights, a catalog of respectable. "You okay, buddy?" I ask. Daniel watches his sneakers swing, the jacket puffed around him like a life vest. "Why did Connor say that about you?" "Because he's 12 and he doesn't understand how words hurt," I say. "It's true, but not the whole truth." "But nobody told him to stop," he says, and his voice is so small, the question feels too big for it. "I know." "Grandma didn't say anything." "I know." "Does that mean they think you're trash too?" He does not look at me. He asks the dashboard, the air vent, the glove compartment. Anything that isn't my face. What other people think doesn't matter, I say, and I hear the platitude trying to rescue me. "Does it matter what I think?" he asks, and now he turns, and his eyes are the kind that see the answer before you say it. "Very much," I say. "What do you think?" "I think you're the best, Mom," Daniel says in one breath, like he's been saving it for an emergency. "And they're mean." "Thank you," I say, and I keep my voice even because I want him to remember the calm more than the wound. That's all that matters to me. A traffic light holds us, and in the red glow, I feel the slide of something old being put down. For 7 years, money has been the weather system that controlled Sunday nights. $3,200 leaves my account every month, obedient as the tide, and lands in my mother's, and with it lands a story. That patience is love, that financing peace is the same as having it, that paying is the same as belonging. Girls in my generation were told that being a good daughter is an annuity you pay into forever. The data says adult daughters subsidize elder care more than sons by thousands each year. The data does not say what it costs a 6-year-old to watch his mother treated like a suggestion. I drive the long way home, avoiding the quick left that would deliver us to our front steps in 8 minutes, because sometimes you need the extra streets to smooth the sting. We talk about the book he's reading, how the dog in chapter 3 learns to swim even though he's afraid of the pond. We count mailboxes in 5s. We agree that pizza should count as a food group on Sundays. By the time we turn onto our block, Daniel is humming a tune from a cartoon I pretend not to like and actually enjoy. The world shrinks to our house, our porch light, the plant in the window that refuses to die despite my inconsistent watering. Inside, I hang his jacket on the back of the chair, read 2 stories, and tuck him in with his worn bear under his chin. "Can we not go to Sunday dinner anymore?" he asks from the pillow, voice drifting on to sleep. "Not for a while," I say. "Good," he whispers, and the relief in the word makes me want to apologize to the universe for all the times I mistook obligation for love. I turn off his lamp and stand in the hallway until my eyes adjust to the dark. There's the quiet of despair and the quiet of decision. This is the second kind. At the kitchen table, the laptop's glow looks like a door opening. There are numbers I have avoided because I knew what they would demand if I looked at them clearly. Tonight I will look, but that belongs to the next chapter. For now I pour tea I won't drink, and I let the last of the patio's script wash out of my body like smoke leaving an open window. There is a sentence you only say when the ledger in your chest has reconciled with the one on your screen. Never again. I don't say it out loud. I don't have to. The house hears me. On the fridge, there's a magnet Daniel made. A crooked heart with a lopsided D and M, drawn in marker that bled. It's not art, it's evidence. Some families think love is a performance you host on the patio. Our family is 2 people and a bear, and the kind of boundary that keeps the warmth in. Trash belongs outside, Connor mouthed. Inside, I am learning, belongs to those we protect. After I put Daniel to bed, I opened the banking app, the way you open a door you already know is locked from the inside. The automatic transfer sat there like a habit with a bow on it. $3,200 to Patricia Brennan, due today, the same way it has been due on the first Sunday of every month for 84 months. When it began, Mom said, just for a little while, until I get back on my feet. I believed it because I wanted to. Then a year passed, then 2. Then the story fossilized into ritual, and I mistook repetition for necessity. I scrolled the archive, swipe, swipe, a pelting of green arrows marching into the past. 3200 x 84, New Year $260,800. That number should feel abstract. Instead, it feels like square footage, like semesters of college, like braces and summer camps, and the therapy sessions I promised myself I'd schedule for Daniel someday. The extras live in another folder in my head: hearing aids, dental work, an emergency crown that broke on a peach pit, a recliner for Mom's sciatica, a washer when Lauren's couldn't be fixed, a down payment on a reliable car because the bus is fine, but not if I want to see the grandkids. My name on the loan as co-signer. My name on the hospital portal as guarantor. My name on the bills that arrive with a chirp and open like traps. The app offers a neat blue button, Edit Transfer. I touch it with a finger that shakes less than I expected. Options bloom, amount, date, recipient. I tap Delete. The app asks if I'm sure, the way an old narrative asks one last time whether I understand the cost of stepping off the stage. Yes. It vanishes. Then I remove Mom's account from my saved recipients. A different confirmation slides up. Are you sure you want to remove this payee? And I click yes again. It's strange how a pair of digital yeses can sound like a door clicking on a real hinge. Then the other ledger, the one with paper and proof. I open a new document and title it like a book no one will believe until they see the pages. Financial Support Documentation, Patricia Brennan, 2017 and 2024. I date it. I add a table, month, amount, category, notes. I start with the transfers, $3,200 neat as a drumbeat. Then begin the chorus of extras. Receipts spill from a folder I've avoided because looking would have meant choosing. Tonight I choose. The hearing aid invoice with my card ending in 2179. The dental bill where the guarantee of payment field is my signature. The furniture order where Mom insisted on the top-tier padding because, sweetie, my hips. And I typed my PIN at the register like a daughter is supposed to. I paste screenshots of the car loan, borrower Patricia Brennan, co-signer Claire Brennan, monthly payment $412. I add the insurance auto debit, $128. I attach the portal printout where my name sits, calm and incriminating, next to responsible party. For each item, I write a sentence as if I'm filing a field report. June 2019, emergency crown, $1,586. Mom in pain, urgent appointment, paid in full by me to secure same-day slot. September 2020, hearing aids, $3,090. Mom said she was tired of asking people to repeat themselves. I said I was tired of watching her fade from conversations. Both were true. February 2022, washer dryer, Wantas 219. Lauren said the old one finally died. Mom asked me to just put it on your card for now. I did. The accumulation looks like love on paper, and maybe it was. But love without respect becomes tribute. Tribute becomes tax. I add one more section to the document, current budget reality, as of November 2024. I list Mom's expenses as they actually are, stripped of the theater we've used to justify the tide of my money. Apartment rent, $0, lives in Lauren's attached unit. Car payment, $412, co-signed. Car insurance, $128. Health insurance supplement, $360. Utilities, share, $150. Food and incidentals, $500. Total, you won $630. I list her income, Social Security, Sagarit in $42, pension, $618, total monthly income, $1,660, surplus, $30. The math works. I stare at it until my shoulders drop. She can live within her means. She should have been living within her means. I was underwriting preference, not survival. When the ledger is clean enough to pass any audit, I draft the email. Subject, Financial Support Documentation 2017-2024. To Patricia Brennan. CC, Lauren and Greg. BCC, Kevin, because distance lets him claim neutrality while still reaping the comfort of my payments. The body is not angry. Anger is imprecise. The body is a list. Please find attached a complete documentation of financial support I have provided to Patricia Brennan from November 2017 through November 2024. This includes 1. Monthly transfers of $3,200, 84 months, for $268,800. 2. Medical expenses paid as listed in the attachment. 3. Co-signed auto loan and auto insurance. And 4. Miscellaneous household purchases. Effective immediately. Monthly transfers are canceled. I am initiating removal as co-signer via refinancing requirements. Medical guarantor status is revoked with 30 days notice to providers. No additional purchases or reimbursements will be made. I paste the budget breakdown into the email, not to humiliate, but to collapse the fiction. Mom's current monthly expenses are approximately $630. Mom's monthly income totals approximately $1,660. The budget balances with a $30 surplus. This decision is final and not open to discussion. Claire. Before I hit send, I add something the spreadsheet can't say. For 7 years, I conflated love with ongoing subsidy and family with unchecked access. After Sunday's incident, I will not teach my son that money is the price we pay to be degraded. This boundary protects him and me. I wish everyone well living within their means. Then I attach the PDF and click Send. By 8:31 a.m. Monday, 5 minutes after the email's timestamp, my phone starts its choreography. Mom, we need to talk. Lauren, what is this? Kevin, have you lost your mind? Greg, let's be reasonable about this. Lauren again, Mom is crying. Mom again, please call. I put the phone face down, finish Daniel's lunchbox, apple slices, peanut butter sandwich, 2 carrot sticks he will negotiate into 1, and drop him at school. In the car alone, I let one long breath go, the kind you save for doctor's offices and first days. Kevin calls from Oregon at 12:04. I answer because, historically, I answer for men who think volume equals authority. What are you doing? He says instead of hello. Balancing a budget, I say. You can't just cut Mom off. I didn't, I say, calm as a spreadsheet. I ended the optional expenses. Her essentials are covered by her income. See the attachment. What about emergencies? he says. I funded 7 years of emergencies, I say. It's your turn. I have a family. So do I answer, and before he can list the differences between his and mine, I add, and yesterday my 6-year-old watched Grandma allow a cousin to call me trash. Silence scans the line. Connor said that? He asks, as if the transcript could be faked. Mouthed it. Everyone saw. No one corrected him. Another silence, longer. That's not okay, he says at last, and for a second I hear the brother I had when we were kids. Then the scaffolding goes back up. Still, he says, money is separate. It never is, I say. Money is permission. At 3:20, an email arrives from Mom's auto lender. Reminder, payment due, co-signer notification. This is how systems move when feelings have been performing their slow dance out front. I call, press 0 until a human answers and say, I am initiating removal as co-signer. The representative's voice is practiced compassion. We can explore refinance in the borrower's name. If the borrower cannot qualify, the vehicle will need to be surrendered. Understood, I say. No quaver, no apology. The truth is solid when you finally stand on it. By late afternoon, Lauren is on my porch. I keep the screen door closed. Boundaries are partly architecture. She's panicking, Lauren says without preamble. She needs that money. She needs to live inside her budget, I say. She'll lose the car. She rarely drives, I say. She'll lose cable, Lauren says, as if we have approached the cliff of civilization. She'll still have a roof, food, health care. This is cruel, Lauren says. This is self-preservation, I answer. There's a difference. Back at my table, I open the ledger one more time, not because I doubt it, but because it has become a mirror. In a margin at the bottom, I add a final paragraph to myself, not to send. Care work is labor. Daughters are trained to perform it invisibly. A boundary is a pay stub with a spine. I print the PDF and slide it into a folder labeled Receipts. The folder is thick, heavier than it looks. I place it on a shelf above the coffee maker, so I will see it every morning when I pour a cup of the ordinary life I am choosing. That night, Daniel and I eat pasta with jarred sauce and too much Parmesan. He tells me a joke from school that doesn't land, and we laugh anyway, because laughter doesn't have to grade out to count. After he sleeps, I stand in the doorway, watch the slow rise and fall of a chest that trusts the room. The phone is still lighting up in the kitchen. I let it. The weather is changing. Inside, finally, the climate makes sense. By Tuesday morning, the family group chat had turned into a siren with punctuation. Lauren, have you thought this through? Kevin, you're punishing everyone for one moment. Mom, please call me. I'm not sleeping. Greg, can we be adults about this? That last one made me laugh. A brief, startled sound in the kitchen. Being an adult, I was learning, is mostly about keeping your hands steady while you flip off autopilot. Before work, I opened my laptop and sketched a pie chart for myself. Nothing fancy, a circle divided into a life. Rent, childcare, groceries, health insurance, car, emergency fund, therapy. Therapy was a sliver I'd never colored in with real dollars, because whenever I had the money, a new family emergency showed up, wearing Mom's voice. I dragged the wedge wider. Daniel had an intake slot on Thursday. I'd filled the forms last night, checking boxes about recent changes and family conflict witnessed by child. I didn't use the word trash in any field. I didn't need to. The intake fee went on my card with the same click that used to pay for my mother's wine and cable life. It felt like oxygen moving into a room whose window had just been unstuck. At 9:12 a.m., Greg called. I answered. Some men soften their tone like a handshake you can't refuse. Claire, can we not blow this out of proportion? He began. Your mom's older. She needs support. She has support, I said. A roof, food, insurance, and 2 adult children in the same city. But you know Lauren counts on you for the overflow. I pictured the store-bought rolls with the effortless label. That's the point, I said. No more overflow. He chuckled once, as if I had told a clever joke. You're emotional, totally understandable. Why don't we just put this on pause and revisit in a few months? When people say pause, they mean keep paying until they forget to thank you. No, I said, we won't revisit it. A silence, then the managerial voice. Okay, but understand there will be consequences. Relationships take give and take. I've given, I said, and hung up before I started measuring. In the billing office, the overhead lights hummed. I reviewed prior authorizations, signed off on a denied claim, approved 2 payment plans. Numbers obey rules. It's what I love about them. If you have the code, the column, the date of service, you can get to the truth, and everyone has to concede it. Between claims, my phone lit up with partial sentences that wanted to be civilization. Kevin again. Emergencies don't schedule themselves. Mom, the car company is being unfair. Can you call? Lauren, you're making Daniel's life harder by cutting the family out. That one sat on the screen like a dare. I turned the phone over. At lunch, I took my apple and my stubborn self to the empty conference room. I made a budget for November that didn't include $300 to anyone but the mortgage company. The numbers arranged themselves without a fight. Groceries got a $20 bump because I decided to buy berries that weren't on sale. Therapy became a real category instead of a wish. I added a line item called Sunday, and under it, pizza, board game, movie rental, whatever makes him forget. It wasn't reparations, it was antidote. When you stop supplying a system, the system will test your resolve. By 2 p.m., Kevin had looped in our cousin Melissa, the family's unofficial mediator who mediates by asking the person with boundaries to soften them. Just hear her out, he texted. At 2:17, my supervisor pinged me. If you need to step out for any personal calls, that's okay. I appreciated the kindness and also that families leak. I closed my email and did the math that clears my head. Money in, money out. 0 remaining illusions. The car lender called again at 3:06. An unfamiliar number I almost didn't answer. Ms. Brennan, this is Sophia with Horizon Auto Finance. We're reaching out regarding the account for Patricia Brennan. Her voice was neutral as a scale. I told her I'd submitted the co-signer removal request. She confirmed the steps. Mom would need to refinance in her name. If she couldn't qualify, the vehicle would be surrendered. The account would be closed. There may be a balance due at surrender, she said. Do you want to provide a card on file? The old me would have read that question as inevitability. No, I said, I do not authorize any charges. The poise in my own voice surprised me, then didn't. When I picked Daniel up from school, he ran toward me like the world wasn't heavy. We did partner reading, he said. I got to be the lion. I made my voice match his delight. A perfect role, I said. We drove the short way home. On the porch, Lauren was waiting again. The screen door, a boundary I didn't intend to cross. We need to talk inside, she said. We can talk here, I said. She exhaled like a deflating float. Mom's beside herself. She says you're threatening to take her car. I'm not threatening anything, I said. I'm ending my legal responsibility for a vehicle I don't drive. Lauren pushed her sunglasses to the top of her head, a gesture that used to mean sisterhood and now meant plea. Can you at least pay this month while we figure it out? No, just this once. It was just this once in 2017, I said, and watched her hear it. She's 72, Lauren said, and I'm 38, I answered. And my 6-year-old watched his cousin call me trash while the adults sipped wine. Lauren flinched. I didn't know what to say. You could try "that's unacceptable," I said. It's 2 words, not expensive. She swallowed, angry at the ground. You're making this about money. It was always about money, I said, about the story money tells. In our family, money meant I would stay quiet. You're punishing Mom for my kid's mistake. I'm correcting a budget for a system that punishes the quietest person by default. She stared past my shoulder toward our united past, the one we used to share like a hand-me-down sweater. Connor will apologize, she said at last. I'll make him. I shook my head. Don't make him. Teach him. She left without promising either. Back inside, Daniel and I made a chart for our new Sundays, his idea. He printed Sunday in big letters at the top and drew 3 boxes underneath: food, games, movies. In food, he wrote pizza, pancakes, grilled cheese. In games, he drew a lopsided cat that was somehow Connect 4. In movies, he wrote, anything where the dog lives. I added a tiny box in the corner, feelings, and he laughed. Why? So we can put stickers on the feelings we had that day, I said. Is mad a sticker? It can be, I said. So can proud. He nodded like a foreman approving a blueprint. After Daniel went to sleep, I answered exactly one message, my supervisor's. Thanks for the heads up, I wrote. All is well. I may be unreachable during lunch hours this week for a personal appointment. It felt like planting a boundary flag at work, small and clear. The family group chat pinged on without me. You're not the only person who matters, Kevin wrote at 8:22. Everyone is impacted. I didn't respond because I was in the kitchen calculating what impacted has meant these 7 years. The birthday dinners where I paid the bill while Mom praised Lauren's taste. The holidays when gifts from me arrived with a gift tag signed from Nana because it made everyone happier. The time I fixed a plumbing bill and a smile and pretended not to see my name erased. If love is action, I had already loved them enough to last a lifetime. What I was doing now wasn't withholding. It was stopping the little theft I performed on myself each month. The theft where I took what belonged to Daniel and handed it to the part of the family that never said thank you with anything but expectation. Around 9, the phone stopped buzzing. There is a quiet that arrives after a storm that isn't peace yet. It is simply the absence of wind. I loaded the dishwasher, left 2 mugs to dry, and checked Daniel's lunch for the morning. The ledger sat on the counter where I'd placed it, the printed document fat with proof, named and dated and banal as a contract. I ran my hand over the cover the way you do over a grave when you're not sure who you're consoling. Before bed, I opened the laptop and clicked on the therapist's portal. A message glowed. Thank you for completing intake. We'll see Daniel Thursday at 4:30. I clicked confirm. Then I wrote one sentence to myself in a notes app I never share. Money is not a love language. Boundaries are. I turned off the light. Somewhere across town in an apartment attached to a house that feels more like a stage each day, my mother was likely rehearsing a speech. Tomorrow there would be new arguments, new soft ultimatums, new claims of fragility worn like crowns. The pressure campaign wasn't over. It was regrouping. But my numbers lined up. My child's calendar had an appointment circled in soft green, and our Sunday chart waited on the fridge for stickers in the shapes of feelings we get to name ourselves. Systems test your first no, then they test the second. The math, at least, does not flinch. The first official consequence did not arrive with a shout. It arrived in a template. Notice of cosigner removal request, the subject line said, the body full of calm verbs, review, evaluate, determine. There was a list of documents my mother would need to provide. Proof of income, insurance, residency, followed by a line as bloodless as a needle. If refinancing in the borrower's name is not approved, surrender of the vehicle is required within 10 business days. 10 days is only long when you're waiting for joy. When you're waiting for a truth to do its job, it's brisk. At 9:07 a.m., my phone lit with Mom, and I let it go to voicemail. At 9:10, Mom again. At 9:14, Lauren. At 9:25, Greg. I started a pot of coffee and let the kitchen fill with the kind of warmth that doesn't ask for anything. Work was a relief. Prior auths, EOBs, ICD codes that stand still, blessedly indifferent to family politics. At lunch, I printed the lender email and slid it into the receipts folder. Not because I needed more paper weight, but because weight steadies you. Families, when offended by boundaries, try new angles. At 1:02 p.m., a text from Lauren. Mom can't find her pension letter. Can you scan yours so she knows what to look for? I stared at it. We were now crowdsourcing competence on behalf of a woman who has operated a checkbook for 5 decades. No, I typed, and then softened for my own sake. She can call HR at the pension office. They'll send a replacement. She's overwhelmed, Lauren wrote. She's always overwhelmed until I fix it, I replied. I'm not fixing it. At 2:30, the lender again, this time a call. Miss Brennan, this is Sophia. The borrower has been notified of the refinance requirement. We understand this is a sensitive transition. Her voice was a windless day. We can schedule a dealership appointment for surrender if needed. The old me would have tried to make this gentle, put flowers on the facts. Thank you, I said. If she cannot qualify, please proceed. There may be a small balance at closeout, she said. We'll mail a final statement. Send it to the borrower, I said, and wrote the line down for myself as if I might need to practice it. If Sunday had been the incision, Tuesday and Wednesday were the slow cauterize. Friends who don't share DNA checked in. Proud of you, texted Maya from my office, who grew up with a mother who weaponized illness. You breathing? Asked Jen, who left a church and kept her daughter. I made lasagna, she added. It's hospital-sized. The difference between support and pressure is that support shows up with food and does not ask for a receipt. After school, Daniel and I stopped at the library to pick up the book he'd reserved about a dragon who can't breathe fire but can make perfect circles of smoke. He counted the returns bin like treasure. On the walk back to the car, he said, "Can we add stickers to the Sunday chart for weekdays too?" "We can add a whole row," I said. He nodded solemnly, as if we were negotiating a treaty. There is a civics to home building. I'm learning it in real time. When we pulled into our driveway, Lauren's SUV was parked at the curb again. Her silhouette behind the screen door, a repeat performance of concern. I told Daniel, inside first, hands washed, then you can start your Lego city. He dashed past, goals already stacking. I stepped onto the porch. "We can talk here," I said, and did not unlatch the door. "You're taking this too far," Lauren started, breath already at the edge of a sob she wanted me to manage. She's 72. She's terrified. Of what? I asked, and when she opened her mouth to say of losing everything, I said, "List what everything is." She blinked. "Her car, her cable, her wine subscription," I supplied. A flush climbed her neck. She didn't ask how I knew. I hadn't until the credit card statement last night. Aurelia Vintner's membership renewal, $39. $99 monthly, recurring for 18 months. Right next to Stream Plus Premium, Family Max, $29.99, and Sport HQ add-on, $14.99. The little rivers that make a flood. I took a breath. I canceled the auto-pays from my account I should never have been covering, I said. The premium cable, the wine club, the same-day deli tab I've been Venmo'd for with Tysis, and no amount. Lauren's mouth went tight. "You're keeping score." "I kept the books," I said. "Those are different jobs." "She'll be trapped," Lauren tried again. "She doesn't drive much now, but it's her independence." "Independence is living on your income without drafting your daughter," I said. "Dependent people can be kind." She chose not to be when it counted. Lauren rubbed her forehead. "Connor will apologize," she said. "I'll write it myself if I have to." "Don't script him," I said. "Teach him." "I am teaching him," she snapped. "I'm teaching him we take care of family." I leaned my palm flat against the cool mesh. "Take care doesn't mean fund," I said. "It means protect. On Sunday, no one protected my son from your son. That is the class he needs." Her face crumpled into anger so quickly it looked like grief. "You're punishing Mom for a 12-year-old's mouth." "I'm ceasing sponsorship of a system where your 12-year-old's mouth knows he can audition cruelty because the adults won't interrupt," I said. "There's a name for that. The bystander effect. In families, it's called, we don't want to make a scene." I let the phrase hang between us like a piñata neither of us was willing to hit. "You didn't make a scene Sunday," I added. "You smiled." "That's worse." She flinched, then reached for shared history. "Remember Mom's 65th, how you brought that necklace and she—" Her eyes darted, and I knew which memory she was retrieving because I'd retrieved it last night too. Mom standing, toasting Lauren's thoughtful gift, the opal pendant I'd saved for and wrapped myself, now clasped around her neck by Lauren's hands as if mine were decorative. The room clapped. I paid the bill. "Yes," I said. "I remember." There are indignities you can't explain to people who didn't feel the heat in the room when they happened. "She's going to lose face," Lauren whispered. "With who?" I asked. Greg, the deli, the twins' piano teacher? If there is a cruelty in me, it sounds like that. Questions that turn a performance back into furniture. I'm not responsible for Face, I said. I'm responsible for Daniel. We're talking about $3,200, she said, exhausted. We're talking about 7 years, I said. We're talking about a 6-year-old. I softened then, because I could feel the part of her that was sister, not foreman. And we're talking about you, I added, because if Mom's budget balances without me, the overflow you've counted on dries up. That's the truth under your panic. She looked away toward the curb where her SUV idled. We were silent in the way only siblings can be, full of 1,000 hours of childhood that want to weigh in. What do you want me to do? She asked at last, and it was the first honest question she'd asked me in years. Start by telling the truth out loud, I said. To Mom, to your kids, to yourself. Say, Grandma has enough for the basics. Aunt Claire is not an ATM. When someone is cruel, we correct it. We apologize fully. We don't ask the hurt person to subsidize our comfort. She made a noise that might have been a laugh if it hadn't been so tired. You think that fixes it? I think it starts it, I said. Behind me, through the door, Daniel's Lego city was expanding. He narrates as he builds. This is the fire station, this is the bakery, this is where the cat lives. And I could hear the soft patter of bricks becoming places. We're done for today, I said gently. Text me if there's information I should have, not feelings you want me to carry. Lauren breathed in like she might try again. Then she breathed out and left. That evening, I took inventory. I logged into my card accounts and unsubscribed from every recurring charge that wasn't ours. Aurelia Vintner's membership canceled. Stream Plus Premium, Family Max, downgraded to Basic, Lauren pays. Sport HQ add-on canceled. CareRx Auto Refill, transferred to patient account. I deleted 3 old mom contact entries that were just her pharmacy, the salon, and a neighbor who liked to report my mother's moods. I set a filter in my email. Anything from the car lender, starred. Anything from family chat, archived after 24 hours. Boundaries aren't only words, they are also filters, cancellations, and a new calendar that says no. After dishes, Daniel and I ran a trial Sunday on a Wednesday. We made pancakes for dinner, tall stacks with syrup that we pretended was a waterfall for Lego people below. We played Connect 4 with rules he invented. Diagonal counts double. We watched a movie where the dog lived. Then we added 3 stickers to the new weekday row. Happy, silly, proud. He chose proud and pressed it down hard. For you, he said. For us, I corrected, and kissed the top of his head where his hair always parts wrong and perfectly. When he slept, I sat at the table with the ledger, the budget, the therapist's portal, open to Thursday's appointment, the lender's email tabbed like a note on a door. I wrote one more paragraph in my private notes, not because I needed the words, but because putting them somewhere makes them harder to steal. Self-preservation is not selfishness, it is the minimum qualification for parenthood. I choose us. It felt less like a mantra than like directions you hand to a taxi driver in a city you finally know how to navigate. The phone stayed mostly quiet until 10:40 p.m., when Greg decided to take a turn. I respect your independence, he wrote, which is a sentence men deploy when they're about to challenge it. But you're breaking this family. I typed and deleted 3 versions of It Was Already Broken. then settled for the sentence that told the truth without inviting a fight. Protecting my child is not a vote against family. It is the only way we'll ever have one. I put the phone face down. Out the window, our block was a row of lit rectangles and sleeping rooms. Somewhere across town, a woman I call Mom was filling out a refinance form, or not. Somewhere 2 houses away, my sister was deciding whether to knock on her son's door and say the words I fed her on the porch. Systems test your no, and then they test whether you will apologize for it. I rinsed 2 mugs, dried them, and set them on the rack. The drip of water slowed, then stopped. I stood there and listened, not for the phone, but for the household we were building. In the room where enough finally meant us. This isn't cruelty. This is self-preservation. Mom called from Lauren's phone on Thursday morning, the number a costume for a voice I knew too well. I let it ring once, twice, then answered in the middle, as if meeting a train I didn't intend to board. "Please," she said, her breath already shaped like apology. "I'm sorry." People think apologies start with the word. They actually start with the first moment you intervene. Sunday had come and gone without one. "Connor was wrong," she hurried on. "I should have said something." The sentence wore its own absence like a coat. "Yes," I said, "you should have." There was a pause while she arranged the rest. "But cutting off all support, Claire, that's extreme." There it was, the scale that measures women by how quietly they bear what hurts them. "Is it more extreme than watching your grandson call me trash?" I asked. "He didn't call you trash," she said too quickly. He mouthed trash belongs outside, while pointing at me," I said, and was surprised at how steady the sentence came out, like reading a line item from a ledger. We can argue semantics or we can talk about witness. I let the word sit. "He's a child," she tried again, seeking softer ground. "A child who learned from the room that he could be cruel without consequence," I said. "Cruelty is taught, so is correction." "I never taught him that," Mom said, hurt blooming where accountability should be. "You didn't have to use words," I said. "You taught it by silence, by praising Lauren while taking from me, by asking for money as if I owed it and as if I didn't exist." She inhaled like she'd tripped. "I love you," she said, and the phrase fell between us, a currency that had been devalued by overuse. "Love isn't a receipt," I said. "It's a verb. On Sunday, love would have been stop. On Monday, love would have been I'm sorry. On Tuesday, love would have been we will fix this with Connor. Instead, I got monthly transfer today." She didn't argue. The quiet was a small mercy. "What can I do to fix this?" she asked finally, and I heard something honest in the question, the tiniest edge of humility, like a paper cut. "Nothing you can do quickly," I said. "There isn't a payment plan for respect. It's a new budget. You choose it every day." She tried another door. "I'm 72. I can't start over." "You don't have to," I said. "Your budget balances. It always did. You just liked the version where I paid for the overflow." Across the table, Daniel sat with his cereal, lifting each spoon like a promise to himself. He glanced up at me as if he could tell I was navigating a room he couldn't see. "Is that Grandma?" he whispered. I nodded and he nodded back, the pact of 2 people practicing a new civics at the breakfast table. "Please," Mom said again, smaller now. "We're family." Family is a behavior, I said, not a biodata point. On Sunday, our family was 2 people sitting in a hallway with their coats on, while the people in the living room pretended that was normal. That's not a family I will fund. There's a statistic I read once. Children who watch a parent be humiliated by loved ones show spikes in cortisol, similar to those recorded during acute physical stress. I didn't tell Mom the number. I didn't need more math to justify what my body already knew. But I carried that fact around like an index card in my pocket, for the moments I was tempted to confuse guilt with duty. I'm protecting Daniel, I said instead, simple as a door closing, from rooms that teach him he is less. At 4:15 that afternoon, I filled out the final digital form for Daniel's therapy intake and wrote in the comments box, "Wants to talk about family gatherings and feeling weird when others are loud." I didn't mention Connor, the therapist would get there professionally, and my son deserved a clean field. In the waiting room at 4:28, Daniel swung his legs in the air and examined a framed poster of a brain made of constellations. "Do they fix your head?" he asked. "They help you read your weather," I said, "so you know if it's your storm or someone else's." He nodded with the gravitas only 6-year-olds possess. "Like when it rains at Grandma's," he said. "Like that," I said. The therapist, a woman with kind eyes and a voice calibrated to children who hide inside their cheeks, greeted Daniel by kneeling to his height. "You like dragons?" she asked, spotting the library book peeking from his backpack. "He likes the one that makes smoke rings," I said, "not the one with fire." "Smoke rings are harder," she said conspiratorially. "Fire is just loud." Daniel grinned with all his teeth and disappeared into her office. I sat in a chair that seemed designed to hold the after of a mother's choice. When the session ended, the therapist met me at the door. "He's thoughtful," she said. "He notices everything." I tried not to apologize for that. "We'll start with a few sessions on naming feelings and practicing exits," she added. "Exits are a skill, not a failure." I nodded so hard my neck hurt. We scheduled the next 2 Thursdays. At the desk, I handed over my card. It was a familiar motion, but the purchase felt new, like buying a window instead of a curtain. On the drive home, Daniel asked if we could add a new sticker to the feelings chart. "Which one?" I said. "Safe," he answered. "Does that exist?" "It does now," I said, and when we got home, I drew a little blue house with a heart for a door. He pressed it to the corner of Sunday and smoothed it with his palm like he was laying tile. Friday morning, Mom called again. This time, she didn't start with sorry. "The car place said I might not qualify," she said, aggrieved. "It's not fair." "It's math," I said. "If you don't qualify, you'll surrender the car. You don't drive often, and you live on site with Lauren." "How will I get to my appointments?" she demanded. "You can schedule them when Lauren's free," I said. "Or use a rideshare. You can afford it. The budget balances." I heard my own calm and was startled by the absence of a tremor. "You'll let them take my car," she said, accusatory and theatrical. "You're choosing a car over your grandson," I said, and regretted the venom even as the sentence made a clean incision. There are days when you can be surgical. There are days when you are simply done. She cried, quietly at first, then louder. "I didn't know," she said between hiccups. "I didn't know he heard me not say anything." That was the nearest we got to truth. He hears everything, I said. That's why we changed the sound. When she could breathe evenly again, she said, I'll talk to Connor. Don't talk at him, I said. Teach him, tell him what you should have said Sunday. Tell him who he should be when the room is wrong. She was silent long enough that I wondered if the call had dropped. Then, I'll try. It wasn't an agreement. It was an opening big enough for one adult to walk through. That Sunday, Daniel and I ran our first official Sunday that wasn't theirs. He chose pizza, half pepperoni, half pineapple, a combination that would make Greg loud and Reddit furious. We built a blanket fort in the living room and invented a house rule. The fort is Parliament, and any feelings can petition the floor. We watched a movie where the dog did, in fact, live, and Daniel cheered at the end like the world had been corrected. We put stickers down, happy, calm, safe. He pressed safe twice, then asked if that was allowed. It is here, I said. The quiet that night wasn't the lonely kind. It was the kind that fills a room just because you're not being graded in it. I washed 2 plates, 2 cups, 1 pan with melted cheese that refused to surrender, but eventually did. On the fridge, our chart had a new row, weekdays. We'd made it Tuesday night at his insistence. Under Monday, he had insisted on a sticker shaped like a lightning bolt. For when we feel fast, he explained. Or brave, I said. Or both, he agreed. Before bed, I checked my phone. No new emails from the lender. A single text from Lauren. We told Connor what he said was unacceptable. He will apologize when you're ready. It was a start, typed like medicine. Another text, a minute later. Mom is reorganizing her budget. No request, no demand, no transfer today. It read like weather resolving. In my notes app, I added one more line to the private ledger I'd been keeping for my mind. Children do not need perfect families. They need honest rooms and exits they are allowed to take. Then I turned off the kitchen light and stood in the doorway of Daniel's room, watching his chest rise and fall in the slow tide of a house that is finally ours. Past the window, the block was quiet, each lit room its own small republic. Inside ours, the Constitution had changed. I didn't need a judge to stamp it, a priest to bless it, or a group chat to agree. It was valid because we would live by it. On Monday, the 8th day without a transfer, I woke before my alarm and didn't check my banking app. I made coffee, packed a lunch, and wrote a note for Daniel's backpack. You are good. If anyone forgets, tell me. Love, Mom. On the way to school, he asked, Are we going to Grandma's this Sunday? Not this week, I said. He watched the trees blur to green. Good, he said, like we had passed a test neither of us wanted to take. We have Parliament. We do, I said. And the dog lives. Always, I said. There is a phenomenon therapists talk about. Extinction bursts. When you stop reinforcing a behavior, it often spikes before it dies. Maybe there will be another round of calls, a fresh chorus about duty. Maybe the lender will mail one more form that tries to make my spine negotiate. But the math is aligned, the therapy is scheduled, the chart is up, and my son knows where the door is when a room is wrong. In a week, nothing has changed, and everything has. The ledger on the counter is the same weight. The house is lighter. Love is not a ledger, I tell myself. But if it were, it would look like this. A blue sticker that says, safe pressed so hard, it will take soap to remove. A Thursday appointment at 4:30 that nobody can take from us. A mother who answers the phone when she can and hangs up when she must. A boy who knows that inside is for the people you protect. A week can measure grief. It can also measure oxygen. On the 8th morning without the transfer, I poured coffee and did not feel the familiar tug to open my banking app, as if a tiny conveyor belt ran through my living room, carrying dollars from my table to someone else's. The belt had stopped. The house sounded different without it, quieter not because there was less sound, but because there was less pleading disguised as routine. There were small signs that something in the larger weather had shifted. Lauren texted fewer essays and more sentences. We told Connor what he said was unacceptable, she'd written the night before. He will apologize when you're ready. It didn't arrive with confetti or a speech. It came like any decent correction should. Plain, a little late, and willing to stand without being applauded. Midweek, another text. Mom is reorganizing her budget. No attachment, no request, no transfer today. Just a weather report. Out there, clouds were moving. In here, the air warmed. I think often now about the ledger I kept on my kitchen counter. Numbers are supposed to be cold, but they were the first warm thing I reached for after Sunday. They gave me a floor when the room spun. They handed me a doorknob when the hallway was full of old choreography. I used to believe that love was an exception to math. 7 years taught me that money is a translator. It repeats the story beneath the performance, even when everyone insists they're speaking a different language. The story our money told was simple. If you keep paying, we will keep deciding you don't need protecting. I withdrew the translator. The sentences changed. A week after the incident, Daniel and I completed our second Parliament Sunday. The fort had expanded. He'd annexed 2 dining chairs and a broom for the ridgepole. A blanket with stars on it served as our flag. Inside, our rules multiplied in the gentlest way. Anyone could petition, anyone could rest. Feelings got the floor before the agenda. We added a jar for kindness taxes, which we dropped coins into when we caught each other doing small good things. It wasn't much, quarters mostly, the occasional wrinkled dollar. But at the end of the night, Daniel asked if we could use the jar for his therapy copay. Because it helps me, he said solemnly, and kindness should pay for help. I put $5 in and called it interest. On Monday morning, a letter from the auto lender arrived addressed to my mother, forwarded accidentally to my address by a clerk who hadn't yet updated the file. Refinance denied, it read. Surrender required within 10 business days. I slid it into the receipts folder, not to hurt her, but to keep a record of how fast systems move when you stop distracting them with sentiment. Later that day, a text from Lauren. We're taking Mom to dealership Friday. I'll drive her back. No request for me to join, no triangulation, just logistics. For once, I didn't feel like the family's unofficial operations department, a role I'd earned by being competent at work and punished for at home. Thursday at 4:30, Daniel met with the therapist for session 2. He came out holding a laminated feelings wheel like a prize. We practiced exits, he told me in the car, his voice bright with the pleasure of new skills. We made a script. Wanna hear? I did. He took a breath. I'm leaving because this doesn't feel safe. I'll come back when it's kind. The sentence fit in his small mouth with dignity. He pointed to the wheel. We also learned a word for when you feel mad and tight and sad at the same time. What's the word? I asked. Overwhelmed, he said carefully, like you set down a breakable thing. It's a big kid word. It's your word now, I said, and he nodded, pleased. Friday afternoon, Lauren texted a photo of the car lot. The red sedan, a woman's hand, Mom's, signing a form on the hood. Done, the caption read. No exclamation point. 30 minutes later, another text. We downgraded cable. She canceled the wine thing. She's adjusting. I wrote back, good. I meant it. I don't wish discomfort on my mother. I wish adult choices on her. I wish a kind room on me and my son. In some families, those wishes conflict. In ours, they finally learned to share a border. That evening, when I opened the front door, a small envelope leaned against the jamb like something shy. Inside, a single folded page. Connor's handwriting, large and tilted, as if the letters were elbowing each other into line. Dear Aunt Claire, it said. I'm sorry I mouthed those words. I thought it was funny. It was mean. I will not do that again. It's my job to be kind, even when other people are not. I'm learning. Connor. It wasn't poetry. It was better. He told the truth about what he did, named the harm, and made a promise about his behavior. It was the apology I didn't get from the room that night, because the room was busy auditioning for a part in its own myth. I left the letter on the counter for an hour. Then I showed it to Daniel. That was brave, he said, and dropped a quarter into the kindness jar without being asked. Sometimes I worry that telling this story makes me sound like a judge who finally found her gavel. If that's true, I hope you also see the part where I was a woman who misplaced her yes. I said yes to obligations that looked like love, and to rituals that looked like belonging, and to a ledger that looked like protection. I said yes, and yes, and yes, until my son watched someone call me garbage with their mouth, and no one in the room thought their job was to say no. Boundaries are where you store the no you'll need later. I began to keep one in the drawer with the spare batteries and the takeout menus. The one I reach for when something goes out, or we need a different dinner than planned. If you're listening and recognizing your own Sunday, your own patio, your own room where the jokes land like darts, you don't need my permission to draw a boundary. But you can borrow my language if it helps. I'm leaving because this doesn't feel safe. I'll come back when it's kind. You can also borrow my math. List what you pay, list what they receive, subtract your piece, and call the remainder what it is, unsustainable. You deserve a budget where the numbers add up and the story makes sense. You deserve a house that hums the right kind of quiet. A final word for the mothers and daughters who keep their families running like back office staff with no weekends. Care work is labor. It counts even if there's no invoice attached. If you're paying with money, that's labor. If you're paying with patience, that's labor. If you're paying with your child's trust in you to interrupt what hurts, that's the most expensive labor of all. You're allowed to send certain accounts to collections. You're allowed to close the ones that never should have been opened in your name. To everyone who's stayed with me through this story, thank you. Thank you for hearing the parts that made my throat tight and the parts that unclenched it. I wish you health and rooms that are kinder than the ones you grew up in. I wish you a ledger you can read without flinching, and a Sunday that belongs to people who know how to protect each other. If this story helped you breathe easier, or reminded you that boundaries are doors, not walls, I hope you'll subscribe and stay. Your support means more stories like this reach more people who need to hear they're not alone. Next time, we'll keep tracing the thin lines where love and money and duty meet, and how to redraw them so the people we're raising recognize home when they feel it. Until then, may your coffee be warm, your budget honest, and your quiet the kind that heals.